Hi everyone, this is Lorena with Synergy Behavior Solutions, and today I am not going to be doing a whole lot of demonstrating of a specific behavior, and my topic is a little bit more general. I want to go off a little bit in a loving and positive and back and forth type way on some expectations and the importance of intention and planning and realistic expectations when it comes to animal training and dog training in general. So the first thing that I want to say is when I talk about intention and planning, I'm talking about the way that we as humans know and naturally do throughout the day take action to make a certain thing work well. So kind of like how if you are going to the post office to drop something off, you're going to plan ahead and bring the package with you and put it in the car. If you're going grocery shopping, this would be before COVID, but in the past we might remember to take Nice job. We might remember to take our reusable grocery bags. If we are working on our physical bodies and we want to get stronger, we're not going to immediately go for... Yoshi, come. Good girl. Not going to immediately go for the strongest weights, the heaviest weights. We're going to build up and scaffold our training. This is also true in dog training, and for some reason I think there is a disconnect, and we don't generally believe that that's the case when we get a dog. So I was talking to my coworker the other day, and we were talking about how the average person who gets a dog doesn't get a dog to become a dog trainer. They get a dog because they want a dog. And the interesting thing is that once you have a dog, you are a dog trainer, and you are learning, and so is your dog, and maybe you're not a very good one. And a lot of people, hi Sylvia, hi Laura, and a lot of people will get better as they learn about their dogs, and then other people will not. And so when I talk about intention and planning for working with our dogs, I'm talking about some of the simplest things. So there's two concepts here, and one is I will kind of lay them out in terms of my own experience just now. So I was planning on doing a 15-minute live, and so in preparation for that live, I cut up a bunch of tasty treats for my dog. I gave her a long-term chew that she was settled with in the grass, and I am prepared to start playing games with her and do some training to prevent things like alert barking, which happened earlier. Then I was able to recall her and redirect her, to prevent fence running with the neighbor dog, to prevent chasing squirrels. If I don't want my dog to do something, then I need to plan ahead and prepare to practice the behaviors that I'd like to see. The other component with this concept is when people get puppies and new dogs, they often will allow behaviors when the puppy or the dog is young, and then be upset about those same behaviors about 8 to 12 months later. And so often those behaviors are things like jumping up, things like running up and greeting every person or dog they see, being off leash and not recalling. They will put the dog in situations the dog is not yet ready to handle, and then the dog will practice the behaviors that you or we as humans have arbitrarily decided is not the right one. And so this lack of consistency is really frustrating for our dogs, I think. And the fact that dogs are so tolerant and amenable to change, even after they have practiced a behavior for a very long time, is really just a testament to their uniqueness as a species. And so when I think a lot about the clients that I work with are often people who have dogs that with behaviors that are severely challenging, if not downright dangerous or frightening. And these are people who didn't expect that when they got a dog. They didn't get a dog expecting to have to spend a whole lot of money on behavior modification. They didn't expect to not be able to walk their dog or not have their dog greet visitors. And a lot of them want the best thing for their dogs and for themselves. And still, one of the things that I come up against a lot is people who want drastic behavioral change from their dog, but are unwilling or unaware of the behavior change they need to make in themselves to make that happen. And that's not in any way a judgment or a knock on anyone working with their dog or having a challenging dog. It's that we have a particular set of expectations and a vision in our head of what it's supposed to look like when we have a dog. And when our dog doesn't meet that particular expectation, it creates cognitive dissonance for us, I think. And so one of the ways that we can be successful dog trainers is to anticipate and be specific about what we would like our dogs to do in a particular situation, and then help them practice that behavior. So when I taught puppy classes, one of the things that I would be insistent and persistent on with my clients and my students was to think about, okay, you have an adorable 10-week-old puppy. Do you want that 10-week-old puppy, when they are a 1-year-old large 80-pound dog, to jump up on every single person they see and say hello? If the answer is no, then let's work on these specific behaviors you would like to see a year from now and put them in place now. And so by very simple management, that actually is dog training. So by keeping your dog on a leash, for example, so they don't run off after wildlife, having your dog behind a gate when visitors come over so they don't jump all over them, having your dog in a crate so that they don't destroy your house or pee and poop everywhere. These are all fairly simple management tactics that can make a massive difference in the way we live with our dogs. It also is a lot clearer to our dogs. Sometimes I feel a lot of empathy for dogs who are experiencing a large amount of disconnect and inconsistency in their homes. And when we don't come with a very clear and united front and working with our dogs, and we don't have clear expectations and realistic expectations, depending on the dog's age, capacity, and previous training, then we're not going to be successful. And so when I say changing our own behavior, when we expect massive changes in our dog's behavior, I'm talking about things like alert barking, lunging and barking at other dogs. I have some clients who want to do things like run and hike with their dogs, or have their dogs be off leash, but aren't yet ready to do the scaffolded steps to get to that point. It's not that your dog isn't capable of it. It's that maybe you haven't thought about, how do I take this goal and then work backwards and start at square one. So I think that what I'm talking about is also just being honest with ourselves about the reality of the relationship that we have with this individual creature. And one of the phrases that I have perfected, especially for my two dogs who have struggled with reactivity in the past, is my dog would not enjoy that experience. And repeating that in my head and not putting them in situations where they're probably going to fail as far as my standards are concerned, by not putting them in those situations, I actually further protect and maintain my relationship with my dog. And that means that, like, right now, I don't want my dog to be self-employed, and so I have a selection of treats, and she loves to sniff treats out, and so I am just tossing treats in the grass for her, and that's what she's focused on doing. And so by planning and preparing for this specific incident and this situation, when I don't want her barking while I'm doing my live, when I prefer she wasn't searching for squirrels, I give her something else to do that is easy and fun and meets both of our needs. One of the things that I think is a pretty common topic amongst trainers right now is the massively high expectations that we place on the family dog. And so I don't remember exactly which behaviorist it was. I know that Patricia McConnell has talked about it in the past, but there is this thing that basically the pet dog these days has higher standards and expectations that they are supposed to meet, with usually very limited training, than even the dog that performs in competition obedience. And I say that when I'm talking about the average family dog that is expected to, for example, in a house with 2 parents, 2 kids, and maybe another dog, is expected to tolerate and engage with every single thing that a child might do to it. Sitting on it, grabbing it, pushing it around, kissing it, hugging it, doing plenty of behaviors that are inappropriate as far as dogs are concerned. Supposed to be totally fine and tolerant. In fact, supposed to love it. They are supposed to share constantly and always be friendly and nice to the other family dog. They are expected to walk loose leash through numerous distractions, whether they live in the city or in the country. They are expected to be off-leash in incredibly distracting environments with squirrels, rabbits, other dogs, toys, bikes, scooters, and recall every time. They are expected to relax at a family barbecue with 7 other dogs and 18 children running around, and not be upset or concerned or worried about any of the situations. They are expected to arbitrarily know when they are and are not allowed to play and jump up. They're expected to know that they shouldn't rush at the door, but that sometimes it's okay, etc., etc., etc. So when I'm talking about like unrealistically high expectations for our pet dogs, the wildest part is that dogs are amazing and genius and tolerant, and most of the time they actually do meet our wild expectations, even with very limited training. And so I think that we really need to be more cognizant and appreciative of that fact, and we need to understand that just by giving this much, putting this much effort in, making a tiny change to our own behavior, we get a massive result from our dog's behavior. It's really, really incredible. This isn't the case for all animals. All animals learn the same way, but if you ask a chicken trainer, we have one of those on staff, you will learn pretty quickly that other animals, like cats for instance, are not nearly as forgiving as dogs when it comes to learning. And so the expectations that we place on dogs, it's incredible to me that not only do they normally meet them, but that often we only seek help when it gets so bad that our dog isn't able to cope anymore. So I think that I just want to wrap up in the next few minutes, like, if anybody has any comments or questions, it would be really great to hear your thoughts on this topic. But I also just really would like for you as a dog owner and a dog trainer to think about being honest with yourself on what you are willing to put in, and realize that that's what you're going to get out of the interaction and the relationship. And so if we are constantly reacting and not being proactive and preparatory and planful and intentional, then we are going to be constantly managing or punishing our dogs. And I think that one of the things that one of my trainer friends just said a short time ago today, actually, was about how we're very much in a time of instant gratification. And it's funny because I am not described as a patient person. I am incredibly impatient, to the point that it's like embarrassing sometimes that I need to be able to sometimes just sit a little bit longer and wait. And it's not something that I'm good at. And that said, I still think that we are asking far too much of our dogs far too soon. And so that's one of the reasons that I think punishment-based and aversive training tends to be pretty popular, is because it can get you quick results fast to change or suppress behavior, but over time it creates a lot more problems than it resolves. The kind of training that we do at Synergy, and that a lot of other trainers watching this do, and a lot of people do, I wouldn't say that it necessarily takes more time, but it's more of a lifestyle change, and it's about changing ourselves too. It's about changing the way that we relate to the world and the way we relate to our dogs. And if we're not really willing to make those changes, then expecting our dogs to make those changes just doesn't really seem fair. The last thing I want to say is, when you think about the expectations that you place on your dog and your dog not meeting them, maybe consider changing what it means to you to have a dog, and how you can share a quality and enriching life together without necessarily meeting the expectations before you met this individual creature that lives in your home. One of the things that I think can be really helpful is to identify what behaviors your dog enjoys, and identify what sort of things you enjoy doing with your dog, and which of those are important enough to you that you are willing to create a plan to meet them. And so I have, again, the clients that want to hike with their dogs, want to run with their dogs, want their dogs to be able to go to that barbecue with 7 children and 18 adults, which I would say the average dog wouldn't enjoy that activity, but some can tolerate it. And so at what point are you willing to meet your dog in the middle? If you give an inch, you can gain a mile or 10 miles. And I was once in an interview with a new dog trainer, and this person stated, having taken puppy classes with my puppy recently, I've been really amazed at how you can put in so little effort and you get so much out of it. And that's completely 100% true. And it's one of the reasons that I am passionate about working with dogs, and that I get to see so many results with the smallest little changes. And if we can just have a little bit of good faith in terms of being honest about what we're putting in, I think we can see some really beautiful results come back. So if you have any thoughts on this, please feel free to drop them in the comments. What are your thoughts in terms of trying to get an instant gratification experience in your training? The funny part being that positive reinforcement training is very reinforcing to the person as well. And so once we start to fix our mechanics and, as learners ourselves, learn how to get better, we kind of start to get the ball rolling, and it feels really good. And then also, what does it mean to have expectations for the average pet dog? Most of the dogs that I work with are pet dogs, and the expectations placed on them can be heavy and can be sometimes, I would say, we expect more out of our pet dogs than we expect out of the average adult humans in our lives. And that doesn't mean they can't meet them, because dogs are incredible, genius creatures, and very intelligent, and also very emotionally intelligent. So can we just give them a little bit of that willingness to change their behavior, our own behavior, so that we can get those changes that we want to see. Anyway, I have some notes here. I just want to make sure I hit the thoughts that I had been having recently, and I think I'm good. If you are watching this and you are interested in obtaining any information around how to become a planful and intentional trainer, how to get and achieve those results that you want with your dog, whether that is the off-leash freedom, whether that's nice loose-leash walking, whether that's working through some challenging reactivity behaviors, separation anxiety, whatever it might be. We have a lot of webinars and classes coming up, and next live, so this Thursday, I am going to be taking my phone with me to the local dog park across the street, and I'm going to talk a little bit about dog park etiquette, and I'm going to talk a little bit about whether or not the dogs that we're watching there enjoy being there, and also maybe talk a little bit about dog behavior and body language. So if you're interested in that, please join us at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time this Thursday. I'm going to be out at the park watching dogs and talking about dog body language and answering questions, so would love to see you there. And if you have any specific questions about the dog park or about dog body language, you can go ahead and actually drop them in this in the comments of this video, and it would be nice to be able to answer those questions on Thursday. Otherwise, I hope that you have a lovely day, and thanks for listening to my rambling, and have a good week. See you Thursday.